NG Models has been one of the most innovative companies in the model aircraft landscape. Today, we'll assess the newest component of the company, Wishes. This system could be a complete game changer for NG Models, and I'm super excited to see what this is all about. So let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Alrighty everybody, so welcome to the newest component for NG Models, and that's going to be their commission center here with the Wishes. So I really hope all of you are excited to dive into this today. It's got a really interesting potential here for NG to really innovate the game for the company, and I'm really excited to talk about it and once again dive into what it's all about. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. So here it is. This is the main page. You have to use the M domain for the NG website, so m.ngmodels.com to access this, kind of like the other CRP features and whatnot. So as you can tell here, what the purpose of this is here for NG is for the collectors to utilize their points and be able to request really cool models over the NG. So I'll kind of give you a brief overview of how to do it and kind of how the voting works and all that. So as you can tell here in the top left, you have the Make a Wish section. So you can click on this. You can see I have X6 right here. So if you click Make a Wish, it'll show you your usable growth value. So every 10th growth values will give you an opportunity to make a wish for an aircraft. So in this case, I had nearly 80, so I almost had 8 aircraft that I could request, but in this case, I had 7 because I had 79.8. So you can tell here I've used one of them, and it's a really cool feature that you're able to use with your various aircraft. So obviously you have to get quite a few to be able to request quite a few aircraft, but it's still a really nice feature and absolutely fantastic for all of us collectors to get an opportunity to talk about what we want to talk about with regards to what aircraft we would like to see from NG. So I think it's a really good concept, and I'm really excited to talk about that throughout the video. But I think the way that they're doing it here, it might be a little aggressive because not everybody's going to get so many aircraft. I think I've redeemed like 60 cards or whatever it would be, 800 points worth, as you can tell in the top right there. So you definitely have to get quite a few to request a reasonable amount of aircraft, but at least every collector should be able to request 1, 2, or 3, a decent amount. So it does also cost a point, which is not a huge deal. Obviously, just 1 point, not a big deal. So I think maybe they should have went for like 5 growth values and maybe 5 points, balance it out a little bit more. But once again, it's better than none for sure. So definitely a decent concept right here. So here's what the main page looks like. As you can tell, you have some various pieces to this. So you have the stages over here. This shows where the aircraft's in voting, pre-production, producing, and its release date, which I really like the organization of that. Once again, if they execute on it, and that'll be a big part of the second half of this video. And you also have the scales for 1 to 200, 1 to 400, and the 1 to 100 section. And then of course you have all the aircraft that are currently being requested, which is quite cool. So you can see here we have a variety of aircraft. So this is just the homepage for all the various collectors that have requested aircraft here. So fortunately, we've already had about 30 approved for production, which is fantastic. So we'll dive into more of what this will end up being for NG later, but I'll just explain, kind of look through some of the aircraft that have been requested. What I really liked from the initial glance that obviously I would have expected, but you don't always think about it, is just the immense amount of variety that is requested among collectors. So you're going to see all kinds of different airlines from all regions throughout the world on this page, and I think it's really cool to see, the reception to those and how it's been going. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So obviously, once again, you can organize it by the stages, but just starting here at the top from October 20th is when I'm recording this, we have an American E319 with the CFM engines. It's really cool how detailed you can get with it. So you can request the airline, the aircraft type, a registration that you would prefer, and that you can also designate it as other registrations that are acceptable, and all those various functions, and you can also give it remarks. So here's an American A319 and then a Virgin Atlantic A350, and you can also request the various names on the aircraft and all that, and also provide the reference photos. You can see here I'm clicking on this one. It's too narrow right now to get to see it all, but I'm sure they'll fix this in the future. But it's good to be able to get a close-up look at these aircraft and what they kind of look like. So there's the American A319 and obviously what you can see of the Virgin Atlantic A350. And we can kind of just go down the list and start looking at the various functions and whatnot. I also need to establish though that first the scales on the right, and it shows you how many people join to vote for an aircraft. So with this American A319 CFM, what I can do here, and it was Logan Huff that requested it. You can see when it was joined right there. So I can join this, and it cost me 1 point, but I'm able to vote for it. So for this particular case, and I want to see this anyway, so I'll give up a point to vote for this, and it does give you an opportunity to notice. So if I join right here, you'll see that I've had 1 point removed, but I was able to vote for the American A319, and now you can tell that I am on board, which is fantastic. So as you can see here, 10 plus people have joined this one, and there's some various emojis and other signs of if the aircraft's popular or not. So hopefully they'll increase this number, make it a little bit more particular, so we have a better grasp as to what we could expect. But anyway, they've been pretty proactive with it, so it's all functioned pretty well so far. So as you can tell, 10 people are on board for the Virgin Atlantic A350. We have the Chengdu Airlines ARJ21. There's 10 plus on board. I think it's super cool how they're able to get this all out to all their collectors. It's not just us. This is one of the only ways we can interact with some of these places that don't have as much social media access. So you can definitely tell by their remarks right here, this was likely one of their locals that requested this. And again, I think it's really cool that we have the functionality, and they also get to see what we're interested in too. So again, for those reasons, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Here's the Pegasus A320. This is the first aircraft we've ran across that's already going into production, which is awesome. You can also see the fire emoji right here. That signals that it's a very popular aircraft, so cool to have that feature. And again, it has all the details. So, and you can make some really good remarks. So this one was another model that's rarely done, and that helps when you're, obviously trying to persuade why you should vote for this aircraft or why NG should make it. But again, the amount of diversity has been fantastic. Here's a Wizz Air A320. As you can tell, we have 7 on board for that. We have 10 on board for a WestJet 737-800, so that's really cool. And this picture actually probably looked pretty good. So you can see how nice that aircraft looks. You can get a variety of pictures from online or whatever the case is. Mostly everybody's picked great pictures for reference photos, so that's awesome. We have this really cool A319 for Korea Airlines. Not exactly sure how that's said, but you can start to really get a feel for it. There's a Edelweiss A320, and let's look for some different examples. This First Choice Airways 767 is very unique, and as you can tell here, it's a new, so anytime a new aircraft gets submitted, it sorts it right there with that new sticker, so that's really cool. And here's a great shot of the aircraft, so that's absolutely fantastic right there. Excuse me, everybody. Sorry about that. But here's this DHL 767, so you can really see that that one's popular, and you can really get a grasp as to how this starts to work. So here's a Toyota Camry special delivery, which is pretty cool. In that China Southern 777, you got 8 people on board for that. And just start scrolling down the list. Got retro aircraft, newer aircraft, international aircraft. I think I haven't seen that special delivery, but Sun Express has some really unique liveries like that one. So there's just a bunch of aircraft that obviously we wouldn't think about from the U.S. perspective. And then obviously there's a bunch of European collectors that probably wouldn't think of the US aircraft. So I think that this is really cool that all the regions get to come together to work towards aircraft that we're interested in, and how the voting system works and all that. I think 1 point's very fair for voting, so that's really nice and very innovative. So you can see all the various pieces here. And the lock symbol means that this is the registration the collector wants to be done right here. So that's cool. So all this is absolutely fantastic. And I think the concept here is really good. So to go along with this, NG is already approved. I think this has been out for about a week or so. They've already pre-approved several really cool aircraft. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these. So the first one is the Guillaume Dreaming Qantas 787-9, which is very cool. It had double fire emojis. It was so popular. So that's super exciting. And again, they'll share these on Instagram, I'm sure, throughout, but don't keep in mind that there's also the icon there on the website for what's going on. So here's just a handful of some of the aircraft: Cathay 330, Shanghai 330, Singapore 747 in the special livery. We got Qantas, the all red 747, the prototype Lockheed L1011 and Eastern L1011. You got the Qantas 74 special, KLM A321neo, Pan Am 741. You got the China Airlines A350, ANA special livery 747 rather, a Pikachu livery, and you got the KLM 742. NASA 747SP, TAP A321neo, TAP A330-900neo, WestJet Disney 738, Delta 747-400, Qantas 747 in the special livery. We got the China Eastern A330-300, Air Callions A330neo, Iceland Air 757-300, United Battleship Gray 757-200, China Southern 787-9, Air China 777-300, American CFM A320, IAE A321, KLM 777-200, Eastern L1011. So as you can tell, the variety is just absolutely incredible. And again, if NG executes on this within a reasonable amount of time, I think this is going to be super popular among many collectors. A really big part of this is the stages. I really like the concept of keeping the collectors informed on what's going on. Obviously we're super interested and fascinated with what's going on. So hopefully this will be updated very proactively. So you can tell here, pre-production mode not supported yet. Hopefully we don't have to use that quite as much. Pre-production artwork is too difficult. So that's more than fair, but why is it even going to go in the I would hope to see, more particular classification of if an aircraft's going to be too difficult to make or not. So, I like that they're designating that there is possible that it's going to be too difficult. I just hope that they, designate that a little bit easier, or maybe pre-production may not even be the best category for it. I don't know, just thinking of different ways to illustrate that. But as for the artwork being too difficult, maybe the category would be, maybe they could just do it by itself, artwork too difficult. I'm not sure. Just, them thinking about what's going on before even putting it into pre-production. And then you can see producing coming soon, producing future released, and producing delay and then release. So all of this is very, reasonable and definitely fits into what they're doing. So for example, we have some pre-production ones. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. So here they are. ITA 350, I don't think was on there. That's fantastic. The WestJet Frozen livery's on here now, so that's really cool. Aer Lingus A330-300 has been going into production. Delta 757-300. So once again, I think this is a really fair way for all collectors to get their spokes as to what they're interested in and what they would like to see produced. I don't know every collector and what's super popular in other regions, so I think this will be a really good way to learn about that. And once again, for those collectors to finally become satisfied, because if a group gets together, it obviously has a really good chance to be produced, like that Chrome Boeing 747. That's really cool. Got the Korean Air 747-8, and let's see, United 777-200 ER in this Evo Blue. And there was a really good point from a previous from the Seminar Airlines International 2024 that Todd from Gemini Jets made a great point on that you wouldn't normally think about, and that's that some of these aircraft, the standard liveries, especially like the American A321, for example, may not have got to NG. They don't immediately think of that aircraft and if it's been done or not, which obviously we've requested quite a bit through Instagram, but I think these votes will really nail it home for NG on if to get it to their head that we want these done. So I think it's really great, and the American A321 is a great example among all the aircraft, other ones that they've approved. I think that was the last one, wasn't it? Yeah. So actually, never mind. There was two more that I missed. So there's those three, and then let's see, EasyJet A320 as well. So really cool to see those, and it's quite an exciting time. So I think if NG executes on this and doesn't fall through on many aircraft, this is going to be a huge advantage for them moving forward. We've talked about this whole year really of this is NG's time. They're at a crossroads for what they want their company to be, at least to the US collectors. I'm sure many European collectors would agree, among some other regions, excluding obviously Asia. So I'm really excited for this for NG. I hope they really balance this out and keep us informed on the production and what's going on. I really like the concept of the stages, and I think that's really going to make a difference regarding the future. So I'm really hopeful they stick to that. And again, if I had just a couple small nitpicks, I would love to see them, maybe come down to 5 growth value per request. Obviously, you don't want to flood this. I also hope that there's a way that you can designate different aircraft and not overlap so it doesn't get crowded. So hopefully they can work on filtering that out and keep it as reasonable as possible there. So, obviously it's tough with the different engines and registrations and whatnot, but if they can find a way to, keep it down to one type, that would be awesome. But overall, the concept's absolutely fantastic. We've never seen a company be this open about what the collectors have wanted to see. So I give a huge props to NG. They've obviously tried like the CRP program, which took forever to get off the ground, but once it did, there's been hit or miss reception to it. I think it's been, I completely understand the thought for, some of the various reasons, especially the wait times, so I completely understand that. And it's just a really tough system to execute. I think this system that we're talking about here regarding the wishes is much more reasonable and can certainly be done really well. So hopefully this will help balance the releases and also keep them to what collectors want to see. I think this will really help their guidance. And I think if they're not interested in getting another spokesperson from another continent, I think this is going to be the best way for them to execute on releases that other collectors want to see. So as you can tell, all kinds of collectors are finding this. It's quite exciting. I really hope this video brings even more awareness to this, and I really hope that NG is able to convert on this to the best of their ability. The concept is fantastic. The concept is definitely a letter grade. It is really great. Now their execution, like that's cost them in many other facets of the company regarding what they've released and the reception they've got, is definitely going to come back to this right here. This is a really good opportunity for them to get back in the driver's seat. And Gemini's made some really fantastic work. They've developed some amazing aircraft lately that have been super popular. Same for Phoenix models and some of the other companies as well. So if NG wants to remain a focal point and a big point for collectors. I think this is the exact right way to go. Now it's just a matter of how they're going to execute on it, how long are these aircraft going to take to produce, and what we're going to see out of this. Obviously, it's probably going to be well into 2025 before we'll see any of these aircraft, probably somewhere in the time frame of the March, April, May sector. Sometime in spring is when I would expect some movement on this. We'll definitely be back to report on it. I've wanted to make an updated video regarding the current situation with NG models and how they're doing as a company to the collectors. But when you have movements like this, it's kind of tough to find a breaking point. So once we get a little bit more reception for this, I'll probably go ahead and make that video. So currently working on the Gemini 1 right now as we speak. It's quite an exciting time for all the manufacturers. There's never been a better time to collect die-cast model aircraft. And it's for reasons like this, companies innovating and continuing to challenge each other. I'll be eager to see if there will be any kickback from any other manufacturer on this. Let me know what you all think. But for NG, this could turn into a real advantage if it's done the right way and they're able to nail these models and get them down and done within 3 or 6 months or however long. And again, having the stages is huge, and at least keeping us in the loop if they're able to successfully do this, I do think will be a game changer for them and will continue to innovate the game for many years to come. So with that being said, everybody, that'll do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to thank each and one of you for watching. My name is Redriveraviation. Take it easy, everybody. Stay safe, trust the process. Do what you love and love what you do. My name is Redriveraviation. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon as Redriveraviation is signing off.